More on the story. Nicolas Blarel is live from Leiden in the Netherlands. He's an assistant professor of international relations at Leiden University. Thank you so much for being with us. Now, of course, we've heard that Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan has called for talks with India. Is it likely that India at this stage will accept this olive branch, in your opinion?
Well, first, thank you for inviting me. That's actually the big question right now. There's been now 2 airstrikes from both countries after an escalation that you can date back to, as you said in the little reportage about the following the February 14th attacks. What's happening now is Imran Khan has offered, obviously, to talk, to discuss, and to kind of control this escalation that has been going on. But an escalation is basically has 2 players. So India has to accept it. The problem that we have right now, it could be a face-saving off-ramp for both actors, for India and Pakistan, for Imran Khan and Narendra Modi in India. But there are a lot of other factors. India, an Indian fighter jet has been shot down, crashed. There's an Indian pilot now that has been captured by the Pakistani forces.
I'd like to go back to your assessment as opposed to where we're at with the conflict that's going on between the 2 countries.
Sorry, yeah.
Do you see an olive branch here, or do you think that there'll be further escalation? Of course, this is going to be very presumptive.
No, obviously no. But what I was getting at, it's going to be complicated. There's Narendra Modi is in a situation where he could use this as a face-saving off-ramp. Maybe we could start a dialogue. And a discussion has been going on. The Deputy High Commissioner and the Deputy Ambassador of Pakistan in India has been called, and there supposedly has been given over a dossier about who the perpetrator, basically, of the attack against the 40 paramilitary forces 2 weeks ago. So there's supposedly maybe discussions about how to deal with terrorism and to de-escalate the tensions. But you also have to understand that Narendra Modi is also in election mode. There's elections coming up in 2 months, and he wants also to not look weak after the airstrikes of yesterday and this issue about fighter jet being shot down. Is he actually will look weak if he compromises and goes to the talks after the last events?
So, of course, as you've been explaining, Nicolas Blarel, there are a lot of different factors playing into this. But I think what's really raising concerns amid the international community is the fact that we're talking about 2 nuclear states.
Yeah. Yes, this is again unprecedented. These are 2 nuclear weapon states. We've seen all the international community urging for restraint. The issue, though, unlike previous crises, because this is not the first crisis between these 2 countries since they become nuclear weapon state in 1998. There's been actual military conflict in 1999 over Kargil in Kashmir. There's been a military standoffs in 2001, 2002. There's been the attacks in Mumbai in 2008. And you mentioned in the reportage in 2016 an attack against a military base in Uri. So again, we've seen this before. What I think changes compared, the international community has been mobilizing. There's been this UN Security Council resolution, which has been actually pushed by France to condemn terrorism and to ask the 2 actors to urging them to restrain. What we've seen absent compared to other crises is U.S. leadership. U.S. has been a sort of escalation manager for the last few crises, handling a very successful shuttle diplomacy between the 2 countries. Now, the U.S. leadership, it could be because of the Trump leadership right now that has been a little more retrenched, not as concentrated on this particular part of the world, the distraction with the Hanoi summit. There could be multiple factors, but it's clearly the U.S. has not been the mediator that it has, there's this role that it has held in the past 2 decades.
So that's the big question here, and this is very briefly a last question to you, Nicolas Blarel. There is a vacuum when it comes to the U.S. leadership as we speak, but we have other countries like Russia and China. Do you think they're more likely to try and channel that diplomacy here, briefly?
Well, yeah, we've seen already some maybe potential efforts. China has urged both countries to restrain, to deal with terrorism, the terrorism problem through multilateral, bilateral efforts. The problem is China has a particular relationship with Pakistan, and India is very conscious about China acting completely as a neutral, honest broker. Russia has maybe a greater role to play, but again, does it have the capacities and the legitimacy that the U.S. had? That's not completely clear. We've had a Russia-India-China summit today. The foreign ministers of these three countries have met. It's not clear what they discussed, but they had a statement condemning terrorism in a very vague kind of language, but this came up out of their summit.
Nicolas Blarel of Leiden University, thank you so much for your analysis here on France 24.
Thank you.